Let me ask you a question. How many of you like the idea of having multiple streams of income? I was traveling from Toronto to Kuala Lumpur, a journey that takes about 25 hours. It's a long trip, and I made that journey every month for 5 years. During those flights, I didn't watch movies, not even on the plane. I used the time to work on myself, reflect, make notes, and use a small calculator I always carried with me. It was my habit to break large numbers into smaller ones. Once, while I was playing around, I wrote a number with 6 zeros at the top of a notepad during the trip. I thought to myself, I earned $1 million a long time ago, in a single year. What's so special about that? What's the secret? $1 million seems to be a magical number for most people. It's not a huge sum, but if you don't have it, it seems like a lot. I started thinking about people I had met who made a lot of money, and I realized they didn't have just one source of income. I kept reflecting on this and came to the conclusion that these people had multiple streams of income, just like I did. So, I thought, we should create a program that teaches people how to make $1 million by setting up multiple streams of income. When I arrived in Kuala Lumpur, I called Mark Victor Hansen in Newport Beach, who got in touch with Jack Canfield, and together they reached out to other partners. We then put together a program called the $1 Million Forum, which led to a series of books that made them millionaires. It was a phenomenal success in the 1990s, around 1991. We really got into the idea of multiple streams of income, and it's a phenomenal concept. Nowadays, most of the people I know who are earning a respectable amount don't earn money from just one place, and they don't necessarily have jobs either. In fact, working is the worst way to make money. This is mentioned in the book, Think and Grow Rich, which highlights that the idea of earning money by working hard is wrong. I was once on a TV show with Robin Leach, and I remember we were chatting between takes. He had probably interviewed more rich people than anyone else, and he told me that the wealthiest people he knew, he had never seen them work. So, you need to start thinking about that. You don't make money by working, that's a false concept, but it's what we're taught. No, you should work for fulfillment. Look, young people should understand, even before they leave school, that work isn't just about earning money, but about finding fulfillment. They should reflect on what they truly love to do, because life is short, and we should spend it doing what brings us joy. Many people spend hours stuck in traffic every day, believing they have no choice, when in reality, they could be looking for alternative ways to work, like from home, using their skills. We should think more about ourselves, who we are, and what we really are. Our spiritual DNA is perfect, and we need to understand this. Consciousness is the key, because there is an inner universe in each of us, and the revelation of this world allows us to achieve anything we desire, within natural limits. Everywhere, we see the perfect order of nature. Winter never follows winter, night always comes after day, these are the natural laws. Our body is a mass of energy vibrating at high frequencies, and when it's not in harmony with the law, diseases arise. But when it's in harmony, we're alive and moving in the right direction. Our spiritual DNA is perfect, it doesn't need modification. The center of our consciousness is perfection, and this perfection within us always seeks to express itself. We all have an internal drive to improve, whether it's running faster, jumping higher, or selling more. But some people give up after failing a few times and end up living only until their body stops functioning. However, perfection is within us. We are spiritual beings, and the spirit is omnipresent, it's everywhere and all-powerful. There are situations where ordinary people perform extraordinary feats in moments of crisis, like lifting a car to save a loved one. This is the power of the spirit within us, even if we can't explain how we managed it. They say they don't know, they have no idea how they did it. But we can say they gave a command to their subconscious mind to lift the car. If they had to carry him to the other side of the street in that condition, they could have easily done so. All powers are already present. All the power you need is within you, always there. This power is omniscient, and for any question you ask, there will be an answer. Answers are the other side of the coin, you cannot have a question without an answer. The idea of a rhetorical question, one without an answer, is not really a question, but rather a statement. Question and answer are part of the law of polarity, the law of opposites, inside and outside, above and below, hot and cold. There would be no inside to this room if there were no outside. You cannot have a question without an answer. What we need to do is to ask the right questions. This is what I was doing on the plane, playing with my mind, thinking about how I could get around £1 million. How would we do that? What would we do? And it works. Keep asking yourself questions and understand that the answers exist. Now, you need to have enough confidence to follow the answers that come to you. When you ask yourself a question, the answer will come. Have enough confidence to know that you are the highest form of creation by God. There is nothing like you anywhere in the universe. All other creatures are perfectly at home in their environment. You and I are the only ones who seem disoriented in our environment because we have the ability to create our own environment. We can literally create our own environment. That is your true self. You are the expression of an infinite power. As James Allen said, you are a descendant of an immortal soul. You are truly who you pretend to be. Isn't that interesting? Who are you? I can say I am Bob, but Bob is just my name, it is not me. I can say, this is me, but no, this is my body. You never hear anyone say, I am a hand, or I am a body. They say, my hand, my body. So who am I? I am a soul. I do not have a soul, I am the soul. And the soul is always searching. It is the consciousness of its unity with that which is. It is just awareness. That is all we are always searching for. And as we develop more confidence, it reflects in our life. People don't make around £1 million a year because they want to. They make that because they are not conscious that they could make that much every month. People are not alone because they like being alone, they are alone because they don't know how to develop meaningful relationships. It's all in the consciousness. We have to understand that we are spiritual beings living in a physical body. We are gifted with intellect, but all the power that has ever existed or will ever exist is 100% present everywhere at all times. The answer to almost everything is already within our reach. That's why Dr. von Braun said to President Kennedy, all you need is the will to do it. Just 5 words, decide your goal. In 1908, Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill that any idea that is firmly planted in the mind, whether it is feared, admired, or revered, will begin to materialize in the most convenient and appropriate manner. So, if you are at home right now, realize that all the power of the universe is with you. That power is inside you, and it is incredibly powerful. James Allen said that you are a descendant of an immortal soul. This spiritual essence is who we really are. We must know that everything we are looking for is stored within us, in our sacred space. Go to a quiet place, close the door, and dive inside yourself. By doing this, you will realize that you can connect with an infinite power, of which you are an expression. The laws of the universe are exact, like the law of existence and perpetual growth. Progress and growth are fundamental. When you achieve something good, a new desire for something greater will arise, and thus, you will reach a higher state. This is the true progress in life, the life that God has planned for you. Inside us, there is something that wants to express itself in a better way, that is our spiritual essence. After studying this for more than half a century and learning from some of the best teachers in the world, I came to the conclusion that any personal growth program without a spiritual foundation is incomplete. I have watched many personal development programs come and go, but the ones that lacked a spiritual foundation were always incomplete. To truly understand this, you need to go to the root cause of everything, and that cause lies within you. You are a spiritual being living in a physical body. This body is merely an instrument, and you have been gifted with intellect. Ask yourself, do you know your intellectual capabilities? If you don't know them, it will be difficult to develop them. It is through the correct use of your intellect that you determine the emotional state you are in. When you see someone emotionally disturbed, it is usually because they are not using their mind correctly and allowing something external to control them. It is of utmost importance that we understand this. Let's go back a little. You are a spiritual being, living in a physical body, and you are gifted with intellect. Although I haven't yet discussed the intellectual factors, I can tell you a lot about you if I were to meet you in a corridor. I could shock you with what I know. Because everything that is inside is shown outside. You hide nothing, your body is a mass of energy vibrating at a very high frequency. This body releases energy, and that energy can be perceived. You have a mental faculty that can pick up and read this energy. You can read the vibration, and the vibration tells you what is happening inside. It's a wonderful thing to understand. Now, through your intellect, you can control your emotional state. I remember teaching a group of children some years ago, right? One of them was named Sarah. Where is Sarah? There you are, Sarah. Hello, Sarah, how are you? I was talking to your mother on the phone, and she gave me your number. The last time you were in a seminar, you were 11 years old. Your mother can tell you how old you are now. That was 20 years ago. At that time, I was teaching the children the difference between reacting and responding. When something happens and you react to it, it's when the person or situation is controlling you. When you respond, you are in control of yourself. This doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change what they said or did. The question is, will you allow this to control you, or will you control it? Michael shared something with me some years ago that had a huge impact on my life. I wish I had gone to his church last Sunday. This guy is great. But anyway, he shared something a few years ago that has made a massive impact on my life. And you can write this down: when something happens, no matter what it is, there is a 3-step process. The first step, it is what it is. Accept it. No one can change something that has already happened. When something happens, someone says something or something happens. When something happens, it is what it is, accept it. Will it control you or will you control it? That's the first step. The second step, harvest the good. Look for the good. The more you look, the more you'll find. There is something good in everything. Harvest the good, and the third step, forgive the rest. Forgiving means letting go. Letting go completely, okay? Now, observe, through the use of our mental faculties, we can take control of our emotional state. I was working with a group of young people in a hotel lobby. One day recently, a friend of mine arranged to bring some of his friends who had just arrived from Belgium. We were talking about the law of attraction and I said, listen, forget about the law of attraction for 1 minute. You know what you've got to do? You have to become aware of how you feel, get in touch with yourself, become aware of how you feel. If you don't feel good, that means you are in a negative vibration, and as a result, you will attract negative energy. You can only attract what is in harmony with you. If you feel good, you are in a positive vibration and you will attract positive energy. That's why it's so important to be aware of how you feel. Feeling is the conscious state of vibration. If we are feeling good, we attract good energy, otherwise, we attract bad energy, but we can change that quickly. Our intellect controls how we respond to the information we receive. We can choose to control this response or let it control us. All failures in life come from allowing the outside to control us, while all success comes from being aligned with the inner law. This inner power operates by law, and working with that law is like absorbing it into our lives as a silent partner. By the way, when I mentioned Sarah, I remembered that the last time she was in a seminar, she was 11 years old, and that was 20 years ago. I got her number from her mum when I spoke to her on the phone. At that time, I was teaching the children the difference between reacting and responding. That was a simple lesson, but one full of wisdom: either you let it control you or you control it. And for your information, the cost to attend that seminar at that time was about $15, which equals roughly £25, written as £25, not as numbers. Although the amount was not large, that seminar changed the lives of many children. This teaches us a great lesson: don't measure the value of things by money, but by what it leaves in your life in terms of transformation. The more aware you become of yourself and your emotions, the more you can direct your life toward goodness, light, and true success. This process is not something you will master overnight. Even after many years of working on it, I still haven't completed the journey. However, now, when I begin to feel bad, I don't stay in that state for long because I know exactly what I'm doing to myself. There was a time when I felt bad for long periods, and only occasionally did I feel good. That prevented me from being happy. But now, I know that happiness and fun are not the same thing. Fun is superficial, while happiness is deep and long-lasting. We need to understand this difference. Now, let's reflect on what the spirit is. The spirit is simply the cause and effect of itself, present everywhere at the same time, neither created nor destroyed. Think of the different frequencies, like the colors of a rainbow. The best and most valuable things are found in the higher frequencies, which are related to the spiritual side, while the lower frequencies are connected to the physical side. Thanks to our intellect, we can take things from the spiritual realm and transform them into something physical. It's important to understand that all frequencies are connected. Nothing is separate. There's no clear line where one thing ends and another begins. Let's look at this differently. Imagine that you have a glass of water and a bottle of water. When you fill the glass, both the glass, the bottle, the water, and the hand holding the glass are all energy. If you add heat to the glass of water, the water will not stay at the same vibration for long, it will change to a higher frequency and turn into steam. But you haven't gotten rid of the water or the energy, you've only changed the form of the water. Energy moves, but it doesn't disappear. It only manifests in different ways, such as water, steam, or gas, depending on the conditions. The key thing to understand is that everything is connected. There's no exact point where the water stops being water and starts being steam. We can use this energy in our minds to shape it into whatever form we want, because we are spiritual beings with intellect. This intellect allows us to access a world of thought that is omnipresent, where we can build any idea we want. We have the freedom of thought. Viktor Frankl, a Viennese psychiatrist who survived a concentration camp, said that no matter the physical or intellectual abuses we face, no one can force us to think something we don't want to. That's where our freedom lies. The ideas we create eventually manifest in concrete forms. Energy is in constant transmutation, moving from spiritual to physical form. It is essential to remain aware of our connection to the creative source of all power, recognizing and utilizing the benefits around us. Last night, I told a friend that all the good things he was mentioning were coming into his life because he decided they would. You don't need to understand how it will happen, but you do need to believe that it will. Now, let's turn our attention back to the mind. Some of you have already gone through this process several times, and I'm one of you. Let's go back to page 4 and dive deeper into the content. Now, let's look at the mind and the paradigm. The paradigm is a program that lives in your subconscious mind, something that was built by someone, maybe in 1934. Dr. Termoflit, who was deeply involved in the healing arts and holistic health, said that the mind is not a thing, but an activity. No one has ever seen the mind. To bring clarity and eliminate confusion, he decided to create an image of the mind. When we think of the mind, we are dealing with something no one has ever seen. Most people, when they think of the mind, associate it directly with the brain. However, the brain is just a part of the physical body, like fingernails. The brain is an electronic switching station. When we think, we activate brain cells and change our vibration. This leads us to a reflection: can you really raise or lower yourself? No one has ever seen the mind, but Dr. Termoflit decided to create a visual representation symbolizing the mind and body. The first time I saw this image, I laughed, but quickly realized its seriousness. I have studied the mind daily for 55 years, and this is the most valuable idea I've learned. In the representation, the large circle symbolizes the mind, both the conscious and the subconscious, while the small circle represents the body. Take time to absorb this. Now, let's understand how this works. The diagram shows the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the body. The conscious mind is the part you use to think, and you have the ability to think, which is the highest function that a human can perform. You can think about anything you want. This is the educated mind, the part that schools work on, and where your intellect resides. All of your intellectual factors are in the conscious mind. The subconscious mind, however, is the emotional mind, and it works in a completely different way from the conscious mind. It is entirely deductive and has no ability to originate anything by itself. The conscious mind has the ability to choose. You can accept or reject anything presented to you. This is an immense power. When you watch something on television or hear something from someone, you don't have to automatically accept it. You can reject it, and you also have the ability to originate ideas because energy is constantly flowing through you. This is the role of the conscious mind. Before anything reaches the subconscious, it must pass through the filter of the conscious mind. But what happens if you are not using your conscious mind? The subconscious is completely open. It must accept anything you send it because it has no ability to reject. And that's the point. No matter how many times we hear this, I question whether we truly understand it. The subconscious cannot differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It operates according to a law which states that anything that is repeatedly impressed upon the subconscious mind must manifest in physical form, through you. This is why the book Think and Grow Rich talks so much about the power of suggestion, because it is so powerful. The subconscious mind has no power to reject anything. If someone wants to hypnotize you, what they do is set aside your conscious mind, the inductive reasoning factor, giving them free access to your subconscious mind. They can place an idea in your subconscious mind, for example, telling you that you are very cold, and you will begin to shiver. Or they may say that you are very hot, and you will begin to sweat. Your subconscious will accept any information you give it. Now, we are all bombarded with information from the radio, television, and other people, and we say that we can accept or reject anything because we have the reasoning factor. Reason is one of our intellectual factors. And because we have the ability to think, we can reject what is negative. However, we often don't do this. We watch television and leave our minds wide open, exposing the subconscious. That's why, when we watch TV or see actors in action, we might feel anxiety, fear, anger, or happiness all because of the acting. But the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. The emotional mind doesn't distinguish. We leave our minds open most of the time because we have been programmed to do so. It's part of our paradigm. We are literally programmed to keep our minds completely open. It may sound incredible, but it's true. Now, let's understand why we do this. Let's take this image and replace it with another. The first image represented you today, while this one represents you as a child. Imagine a baby. It will accept anything you give it, anything that happens around it. Everything will go directly into its subconscious, which has no ability to reject. If you took that baby to a Chinese suburb, it would grow up fluent in Chinese, with no knowledge of the English language. If you put a baby in an environment where 4 or 5 languages are spoken, it may learn them all. There was a case in Kuala Lumpur where a 4-year-old child spoke 5 languages. This is not something extraordinary. In many places, children grow up learning multiple languages. You can teach babies this, just like you can teach them to read. By programming information into the subconscious mind, you are building recognition cells in the brain. You can show them words, play the sounds of those words, and all of this will go directly to the subconscious. When they develop a vocabulary and start speaking, you can give them a book, and they will recognize the words and read them to you. Many people say they don't believe this, and for that reason, they probably won't ever try it, but this is something that has been done. Everything that happens around the baby is absorbed by its mind. Regarding monetary values, if, for example, the text mentions $1,000, that would approximately be equivalent to 800 British pounds. It should be written as 800 British pounds, fully in words, without using numbers or currency symbols. Similarly, all other numbers, such as ages, years, hours, chapters, and Bible verses, must also be written out in full. For instance, instead of writing 3 o'clock, it should say 3 o'clock, and instead of 1:9, it should be written as chapter 1, verse 9. This ensures that the text follows the linguistic and cultural norms of British English. In our family, no one had ever gone to school. I stopped at the age of 16, and that was accepted as normal. But I changed one thing. Instead of asking my children if they wanted to go to school, I asked them where they were going. That simple change in the question made all the difference. This is how we are shaped by the influences around us. We are currently in contact with the largest publisher in the world to write a book about paradigms. Your belief system, you probably don't even know where it comes from. It starts to form from the moment of conception, when the mother's and father's DNA combine, and information continues to be poured into you. The image you have of yourself is formed at that time, during childhood. The self-image with which you operate today was formed back then, and you didn't even realize what was happening around you. I was born during the Depression, and grew up with the idea that if you have any type of job, you should consider yourself lucky. I would do anything, because that was how I was programmed. The focus was on going to school and improving, but the priority was to get something to eat. Even today, there are many places where the situation is the same. The self-image is your inner idea of yourself, and how you see yourself dictates how you see the world around you. When you put multiple ideas in your mind, they begin to emerge. Now, imagine being surrounded by people who, in the absence of clearly defined goals, become strangely loyal to the trivialities of daily life until they become enslaved by them. Many people live this way, loyal to the trivialities and enslaved by them, and this has been directly programmed into their minds by those around them. Paradigms are formed this way. The subconscious mind is like an empty cup, in which you can pour anything. This is what happens when we are born. We are genetically programmed, going back several generations. When I was young, I had red hair. Over time, it became lighter, then blonde, until eventually it turned white. My parents didn't have red hair, neither my brother nor my sister did. This may generate all kinds of speculation, don't you think? But my father's mother and all his siblings had red hair. See, sometimes these traits skip a generation and show up in other generations. Understand that most of your beliefs were probably not originated by you. They were built soon after your birth and passed down from generation to generation. When you examine your beliefs in the light of truth, you realize that some of them are absolutely ridiculous. Until about 4 or 5 years of age, we were like that, and we are still like that today. We live the same way we did when we were children, keeping our minds open. People follow each other like sheep. This reminds me of a joke about sheep. Before we started the Sunday work at church with Michael, Jackie came up to me and told me a joke, saying it was a great joke for seminars. The joke is about 2 men who were riding horses and met on the road. One of them was a ventriloquist, and they began talking. The ventriloquist said, "I bet I can talk to your horse." The other man replied that horses can't talk, but the ventriloquist insisted. He greeted the horse and asked its name. The horse responded that its name was Bill and commented about the food. The ventriloquist then bet that he could also talk to the other man's dog, Rover. Rover replied that he was fine but would like a flea collar. Finally, the ventriloquist bet that he could talk to the sheep, and the other man quickly responded with a sheep answer, BAA. I don't usually tell jokes, but this one was great. I loved it. But listen, this is how we go through life, and here we are today, adults, living the same way. Ask yourself, if someone says something unpleasant, do you get upset? If you are watching something on television, do you sometimes feel anxious? The answer is yes. This happens because we leave our minds open, and whatever is happening enters directly. The subconscious mind does not have the ability to reject. It's like the earth that doesn't care what you plant. He said, you can plant corn, a healthy food, and some poison. Both will grow with the same abundance. But he highlighted that the mind is much more fertile. Let's observe this for a moment. Now, regarding the currency conversion. If the book mentioned is approximately priced at $20, it would be roughly equivalent to about 15 British pounds. Therefore, it would be written as approximately 15 British pounds. And regarding the ages and numbers, all numbers such as 16 years, 4 or 5 years, 2 men, 1 horse, 1 dog, 1 sheep, have been written in their full written form as requested. White represents what we teach ourselves, while yellow represents what the educational system teaches us. In school, we hear with our ears, and these little antennas symbolize our senses: hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch. As you listen, you begin to gather information. This accumulation of information is exactly what it implies, an accumulation of knowledge. Books start to pile up in our consciousness. After accumulating a certain amount of information in school, they give you a test. They want to know if you know that information, and if you give more correct answers than wrong ones, they say, "Congratulations, you passed, you know the information." But this is not knowing, this is not learning, but this is the model we are operating under right now. Having this information does not mean that we know it. We need to be able to repeat it. Listening and hearing are two completely different things. You hear with your ears, you listen with your emotions. Learning is completely different from accumulating information. Learning is when you consciously engage with an idea and become emotionally involved with it. Then you take a step forward by acting on that idea, and then you change the outcome. The feedback from the change in the outcome represents the actual learning experience. I know that if I take this and emotionally engage with it, then do it, my income changes. That is learning. Now, let's look at this. For a moment, the school gave us valuable knowledge. However, the school never taught us how to alter the old paradigm. So, frequently, we don't do what we know how to do. Higher knowledge and lower results cause confusion and frustration. Here we are, we have all the knowledge, we've passed the tests, it's all in our minds. But the results do not match the knowledge. They are so intelligent, they know so much, and yet they don't understand why they are getting terrible results. It's because knowledge does not control results. The paradigm does. The paradigm dictates the results, controls the vibration, the action, and thus the outcome. If you want to change your results, there is only one way to do it, you must change your paradigm. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and leave a comment to support the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Note, if we assume that the income was previously equivalent to $1,000, this would be approximately 780 British pounds, which should be written as 780 pounds in full words, without using numbers or currency symbols.